This happened today, and it really messed with me. I've been thinking about it all day and all evening. I took my 5-year-old son and 3-month-old daughter to the playground today to meet a friend and her daughter. It's got regular playground equipment, a huge parking lot, and a big grassy area and trees surrounding the play area. On the other side of the trees is some sort of development thing they're working on. The area this school is in is pretty rural. It's just a bunch of twisty roads and random buildings. I've never thought about or noticed this until today. We get to the park and meet up with my friend. Another mom that we know is there with her 2 girls too. The only other people there are a dad with a little girl and a boy that looked to be somewhere between 10 and 12. So the moms are all sitting, chatting, playing with my adorable daughter, having a good time. The kids are playing together, everything is good. Eventually, all the kids from our group kind of wander off through the playground doing their own thing. The seesaws are in a shady area. Next to them is a big stretch of grass, then the trees with the semi-developed area behind that. My son wants to seesaw, but nobody wants to do it with him. I get up to go help him, and the 10-ish-year-old boy comes over and says, "Hi, do you want me to play with him?" Which was a little strange that he asked me and not my son, but I said, "Sure, bud, go ahead." So he gets on the other side and starts seesawing with him. His demeanor was so strange. He didn't smile. His voice was completely flat. He didn't say a word to my son. He just seesawed with him. My son was oblivious and chatting away at him. After a few minutes, I started walking back to my bench, and I hear the boy start talking with my son. Okay, so maybe he's shy around grown-ups. I sit down and start talking to my friends, and the dad walks near us to probably go up to his car, and I say, "Hey, it was really sweet for your son to offer to play with mine," and smile at him. He looks at me and goes, "He's not my son. I don't know who he is. He walked over and asked if I wanted him to play with daughter's name and then just kind of followed us around until you guys got here." He sort of laughed like, "Weird, right?" and shook his head. I got a very uneasy feeling in my stomach and looked over to the seesaws. They're gone. I jump up, hand my daughter to my friend and run in that direction yelling my son's name. I see them walking, almost to the trees. The trees are not close. I'd guess a football field or so away from the play area. I got this awful feeling and ran as fast as I could, yelling my son's name. He turned around and started trying to walk to me, and the little boy grabs his arm and tries to pull him toward the trees. He gets upset and starts saying, "Hey, let go of me." Now usually this is not a quality about my son that brings me anything but trouble, but he does not like to be grabbed, pushed, or pulled, and he has ADHD, so when he gets frustrated it usually comes out in aggressive ways. I was so thankful for this today. He starts punching the boy and headbutting him like a little crazy person. The boy lets go as I get to them and runs to the trees. My friends are finally realizing something is going on, so they're standing at the edge of the play area looking confused. My son is crying. I'm shaking. I don't know what the heck just happened. I asked my son where he was going and he said his friend wanted to take him to see Ryan. From Ryan Toy Reviews. It's his favorite YouTube channel and he talks about it non-stop. He told the boy about Ryan, and apparently the boy told him that he knew where Ryan lived and did my son want to go visit him and play. So of course my son said yes. I don't know what the intention was. It was a kid. I don't understand why he would lie to my son, why he wanted him to go in the woods, why he was so weird. Maybe it was innocent, but I don't think it was. My husband and I live not too far from a state park that we've been going to lately for walks in the afternoon. Yesterday was a really awesome day. The weather was perfect, and we felt great about getting our walk in. The park is pretty spread out, so by the time we get halfway through, we're pretty far from our vehicle. We're laughing and having a good time when a car pulls alongside us and just stares at the stroller I'm pushing with my newborn son inside. My husband and I think it's super creepy and move along quickly, and the car leaves. We get across this bridge to another parking lot to discover the same car is parked by the trail we were taking. When we get somewhat close, 2 guys with little dogs get out and go in separate directions, and one sits in the driver's seat with the car running. We don't like this, but also know that we tend to be pretty paranoid. My husband is 6'5" and huge. Who would willingly mess with him? The car stays put, much to our relief, and we make it to the end in about an hour. All is fine and dandy until we come back through and find that same car. The 2 guys are again out walking their tiny dogs. These guys are about late 40s to early 50s, look pretty rough, and are staring directly at us. They jump in their car and head our way. By this time, we're super paranoid. I grab my husband and we sit at a conveniently placed picnic table that is right off the road to wait them out. They just sit there at the stop sign, facing us, for about 2 minutes until another car comes and forces them to move. Those 2 minutes felt like hours. We book it out of there with a death grip on the stroller. We get back over the bridge and guess who is sitting there? Yep, creepy stalker guys. We kept walking like we didn't notice, and my husband gets the license plate number, out-of-state tags, the make and model of the car. My husband has now had enough. We make it to the store that is halfway through the park, and he goes inside to call the police. I sit out front because my son is fussy and I don't want him bothering anyone. My husband was only gone a moment to grab an employee, maybe a minute, and I was in clear view. The people wouldn't even have had time to get to us. Anyway, cell reception is pretty much non-existent there, so my husband goes back inside and 2 of the employees come out to sit with me. The creepers, all 3 this time, get out with their dogs and start walking around while keeping their distance, but still in eyeshot of me. The sheriff says to wait there, so we sit out front with one of the employees watching the creepers watch us. I think they got nervous with everyone around, so they drove across the road to another building there. They parked to where their car was facing directly at us. After about 30 minutes or so, the sheriff pulls in, and they zoom out of there so fast. One of the employees comes out to talk to the sheriff and says he was watching the car from inside the store, and one of the guys was standing behind their car watching us the whole time. We just couldn't see him from where we were. The sheriff takes off looking for them, but I doubt he found them because that place is a maze, and they went out the back way. In an odd way, I'm happy this happened to us instead of someone less paranoid. I have family members that take their little kids there all the time. I highly doubt they'd even notice someone following them. This whole ordeal lasted around 2 hours. I was so relieved to get my baby boy home. Things could have gone an entirely different way today. What started out as a simple walk on a nice day turned into stalking and could have ended so badly. My husband and I thanked the sheriff and the store's employees profusely. I hate to think about what could have happened had they not been there or been so kind. At the time this happened, I was 13, so this happened 2 years ago and I was fairly naive. I was a major introvert, only friends with a few people in my class. I wanted to be social, but I preferred to be alone and read or write. Classic nerd things. In early November, I got a text on my phone that was from a few classmates whose phone numbers I had, and around 1 or 2 I couldn't recognize. It was a group chat asking if we wanted to hang out at night near a park at our school. My parents, being strict and paranoid, would never let me go. Luckily, or what I thought was luck, they were heading out for an overnight trip. They would be back around 4 in the morning. Everything fell into place. Once my parents left around 8-ish, I ran out the door and made my way to the park. The one thing I made sure to do was lock the door. My parents were paranoid after all, and it was their biggest thing that they engraved into me. Once I arrived at the park, I noticed a creepy figure near the edge of the woods. No one else seemed to notice it, and I already had enough reputation as a weirdo who was true crime obsessed. I didn't mention it. The night drew on and on. I was having the time of my life, ignoring the gut feeling I had telling me to run. Every so often I would look over my shoulder, and the man would still be standing there. Around 9:45, 4 out of the 10 people there had to leave due to their curfew. It was getting cold and was nearly pitch black with a few streetlights every so often. The rest of us decided to go as well, since it felt more eerie and quiet. The place we were hanging out at was a field that was fenced in with a few exits and entrances, a large wide field with a small park in the back, and our giant middle school behind us. The front of the field faced the empty road, and the right and left sides were surrounded by forest. All of the people left were getting picked up by cars, meaning that they went the opposite way of the road since that's where the parking lot was. The man stood by the right forest road exit that I needed to take to get home. I walked away from my group and tried to steady my heavy breathing. I didn't want to be paranoid, but all the true crime I listened to was catching up to me. The man was probably early 40s, late 30s, dark hair with a beard. He was probably around 5'9". He stood about 10 feet from the exit I had to take, so when I got close enough to it, I ran for about 30 feet through the exit and through the woods. Once I felt safe enough, I started just to quickly walk through the woods, or at least get to the road. I heard a snap and a crunch from behind me. I stopped walking for a second and quickly checked over my shoulder. Around 15 feet behind me stood the very same man. He was walking slowly behind me, almost as if he was trying not to be suspicious, but it only made my fear worse. I turned around and walked so quickly I was basically jogging. I lived about 10 minutes away from the park we had hung out at, and I wasn't athletic enough to run home. After around 7 minutes of walking fast, I was in my neighborhood. I knew that I could run to my house if I had to, so I checked to see if he was still trailing behind me. To my horror, he was only 5 feet away. I ran. I ran faster than I've ever run. I could hear his footsteps behind me thumping across the concrete as he ran too. I dove down an alleyway I knew well and tried to lose him in a park, making my way home longer. I could hear his heavy breath followed by his footsteps as he tried to keep up. I cut through houses, backyards, and front yards. I finally made it to my house and flew up the steps. I looked behind me and he had just arrived at the bottom of my stairs. I unlocked the door and burst through it, shoving it closed behind me, and I heard him hit the door with his whole body. I ran around the house and locked all the windows, turned off the lights, and hid in my bedroom with a kitchen knife just in case he got in. He didn't, luckily. If this was a better world, that's where my story would end. But it doesn't. After a few months, I haven't really told anyone what happened since I don't want to get in trouble with my parents for sneaking out or anything. I didn't go out with anyone or any group anymore, and my loner status returned. I began to write horror stories as a coping mechanism and never went out past 7. It was around February when a classmate of mine was sharing a story of some random man following her home on the bus. She described him almost the exact same as the man who had chased me home. Another girl mentioned that he sounded like the guy who stood outside the school and tried to follow her home. I didn't join in, but everyone agreed that he was just a weird guy. He was kind of forgotten, and eventually I moved on too. Around May, I was getting ready to walk to school when my mom pulled me aside and showed me a picture of a man. The guy who stalked me, actually. She told me that he had been arrested 2 weeks ago for sexually assaulting a child and had escaped last night. She told me to keep an eye out for him and to call the cops if I saw him. I was shaking the whole time I walked to school. It haunts me to know that if he had caught me, I would most likely be in her position or even dead.